Chad, I hate disruption, man. We were supposed to do this yesterday, and now we're doing it Tuesday, though, because what happened? The infrastructure in Chattanooga, we've had that debate on off the supply chain.
Yeah.
Someone cut the fiber optic line.
Yeah, I know. I wonder if they did that on purpose.
Oh, you sabotage?
Yeah, I think it's a deep state conspiracy.
There's a saboteur?
Yeah.
Hey, you know what's a deep state conspiracy in the deep south? Why do they have... Like, I was driving by McDonald's, and it said, try a gallon of sweet tea. Now, my question is that single use? Like, does one person sit there with a giant straw, or is that supposed to be, like, for the whole family, the gallon?
Oh, come on. I think that's for the whole family. I mean, you'd be peeing all day if you consumed
drank a gallon of sweet tea?
Yeah, that's a Southern thing. You know,
a gallon of sweet tea.
Yeah.
It's just an odd, like, increment of size, too.
You've lived here, like, 9 months-ish.
Yes.
Like, and you'd never been to the South before.
No.
What's your...
I've been to the South. I've been to South Carolina.
Okay. Well, what's your favorite Southern thing, having lived here now for the better part of going on a year?
Hospitality. Like, people here, they're just nice when you go in stores. Like, in the Northeast, when you go in, I don't know if you've ever seen, like, Menace to Society, but, like... You know, in the beginning, the store clerk is, like, just eyeballing the two kids when they go into the liquor store. Like, that's what it feels like every store you went to, Master. They're sort of like, what do you... Yeah. Hurry up and buy something.
Really?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like good patronage.
No. Hey, so all you people out there who are listening to this, you can watch this. And you know how, Chad?
All kinds of ways.
Well, one of the best ways is on FreightWaves TV, the app, and they can do that by getting a ticket to, I think, tomorrow's the last day. So go to freightwaves.com/events. Buy a ticket.
Oh, it's December 18th.
Today is December 17th.
Yeah, I know. So, but I had read somewhere January 18th.
Oh, I think it might be December 18th. Maybe it is January. I think it's December 18th.
Okay.
I think it's December 18th.
So while supplies last,
yes,
get a ticket to FreightWaves Live this May and get yourself...
Whoa.
I'm coming in and out.
Yeah, me too.
Get yourself
I got you right here, though.
Apple 4K...
Tyler Robertson, someday he'll ring that cowbell. Of course he will, Tyler.
Yes.
Yeah, so go to Apple. Yeah, go to Apple. Apple.
Go to FreightWaves.com events. Click on our... we've had a lot going on today.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and enter to... Well, not to win. If you buy a ticket, you get this Apple 4K router.
What's up with your mic?
I don't know. I'm coming in and out. Yeah, I'm
Are you good now? Try to hit that down to there.
Hey,
no. This hit your cable.
I think I'm good though.
No, you're not. Push it in.
There
you go. Okay.
Oh, thank you. Good. What a relief.
Let's save this segment by getting to the headlines, but first we got to pay our very patient sponsors. They are DDC FPO. DDC FPO is the #1 preferred back office partner for transportation. Want the most robust AI data processing solution available on the market today?
Yes.
Of course you do. Visit ddcfpo.com or email info@ddcfpo.com right now.
Never did I think DDC FPO would be so easy to remember.
By the way,
you did that really well.
They saw great quarter guys before us go on, but after our show, we are only in the middle. We're in the middle of the sandwich of content that FreightWaves has today, because at 2 p.m., they get that market update, the monthly market update webinar. Zach Strickland, Anthony Smith, the Freightonomics guys. We'll be doing Freightonomics tomorrow.
You're giving shout-outs to everybody.
Go there, register for that event. Especially if you
hit the music.
If you like a good webinar. Oh, man. All right. Amazon has decided to not allow third-party sellers to use FedEx Ground and FedEx Home due to their shipping performance. They said, you guys can't cut it, man.
Yeah.
Maybe too tight for some people's likings, because this story was sent to me by a few shippers on their thing. They don't want to be named, but they are not very happy about the way they're being treated by Amazon. Is Amazon getting too big for their britches? Real quick.
We'll find out. Is it the beginning of the end for their dominance?
Well, here's what they did. They sent this letter out to some shippers that, dear seller, by shipping takes into account your ship from location, the promised delivery date, and information about the available shipping methods to provide you only those ship methods that reliably meet the promised delivery date to protect the customer experience. We have seen a drop in the delivery performance of FedEx Ground and FedEx Home ship methods from seller-fulfilled Prime. Those are SFP shipments. To protect Prime customer experience, FedEx Ground and FedEx Home will be temporarily unavailable in buy shipping for Prime shipments effective 12/16 at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. That was yesterday.
Yep.
Until the delivery performance of these ship methods improves. Note that FedEx Express ship methods will be available in buy shipping for Prime members. They threaten to take your Prime badge away. You can't sell it to Prime badge. And these guys, I think they got this email on the morning of the 16th. So not a lot of time to plan.
And the letter goes on. Please select an alternative ship method to fulfill your Prime orders or turn off your Prime badge, as you were just saying, if you're unable to ship with an alternate ship method in by shipping. FedEx Ground, FedEx Home will continue to be available for standard shipments. And it says, we will notify you when FedEx Ground, FedEx Home are made available in by shipping for Prime shipments. In case of any questions or clarifications, then they have the email to contact.
Yeah, and it seems rough. And some of the commentary that we were given on this is that Amazon has just made it very, very difficult for sellers to hit their metrics.
Really hard. Like, you have to do
everything
a minimum of 98%.
Minimum. I mean, that's pretty brutal. What about Boeing? They're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Or maybe they are.
Boeing making big news. The beleaguered airline may opt to discontinue the production of their 737 MAX as officials can contend with the best way to navigate fallout from the aircraft. Regulatory approval for the jet could extend deep into the first quarter, always a difficult quarter anyway, which is concerning for many inside the company.
Especially for the Bengals. I had a guy from Cincinnati on earlier.
And the Titans. I don't think they scored in the first quarter either this year. This decision doesn't come lightly for Boeing, of course, as the MAX is, or at least was, the company's best-selling aircraft prior to production slowdowns.
Yeah, Boeing stocks are down, and they've declined 19% since that crash in March in Ethiopia that caused a global grounding of the 737 MAX. In total, there were 2 crashes that killed 346 people. So, this isn't something to be taken lightly. I mean,
so unnecessary.
I know it's not
after
just
it happened the first time.
Yeah, this isn't like a seatbelt recall or something where 1 or 2 people die. This is major crashes that happened. According to the Wall Street Journal, plans have become more urgent at the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration signaled it wouldn't certify the revamped MAX this year. So big problems.
Yeah,
China.
And apparently Boeing has 380 of these planes in storage, and those costs are adding up. It's
pretty big, right?
Big supply chain problem because these planes are made of, count them, 400,000 parts. And, there's some smaller suppliers than others. If there's a weak link in the supply chain, it affects everything. So some of those companies could be disbanded before they're able to resume production. Boy, they've got a lot to figure out along those lines.
Yeah, and that's a lot of mothballs.
Indeed.
Navistar recalls international work trucks that can move unintentionally. Oh, man. If you remember, there was that. Do you remember who's that actor who was in Green Room? He was in that Star Trek movie, and he got run over by his own truck. He was getting his mail. He was getting junk mail out of there.
I've never heard of that. No.
Yeah, like a Russian name. I forget his name. But anyways, Navistar recalls these international work trucks that can move unintentionally. Power takeoff can overwhelm the parking brake with engine and drive or reverse.
Yikes.
Navistar International is recalling 12,539 international brand work trucks equipped to send power from the truck for other uses because the engine speed could overwhelm the parking brake and lead to unintentional movement. The condition could cause injury or property damage. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration said in a posting on its website, no injuries or crashes, though. This is good news. We're mentioned yet.
With the parking brake applied and the automatic transmission still in drive or reverse and the stationary power takeoff, the PTO switch engaged, the engine RPM will ramp up and may overcome the parking brake hold capability. That's how it all works. The affected trucks are very new. They're 2019 to 2020 International MV. There's 2,000 of those units. There's 4,000 units that were 2018 to 2020 International Workstar. There's also some international HVs. There's a number of these.
Anton Yelchin.
Yeah.
Thank you, Philip Stewart. Sorry, I didn't mean to disrespect the dead. Anton Yelchin, it was his name.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, community.
Philip Stewart.
So sorry to hear about that, that human being. When did that happen?
A couple years ago. Yeah, he was just getting junk mail or something. He was on an incline, and I believe he had I won't name the manufacturer because I don't want to say it wrong, but he got run over by his own car.
Well, anyway, by the way, customers will be notified of the recall.
Pinned against a fence, actually.
Yikes.
I know.
On January 20th. So, be on the lookout. You heard it here first. And our one more headline, North Carolina police fined $3 million in barrels of pork headed for Mexico. Someone's going to be mad. They didn't get paid.
Yeah.
Law enforcement in North Carolina found
sizzling like bacon about that one.
They found $3 million in a tractor trailer hauling barrels of raw pork shoulders to Mexico. The Cleveland County Sheriff's Office alleged the money came from drug sales in the region. Shocker. It's one of the largest U.S. currency seizures in Cleveland County history, at least. That's what Sheriff Alan Norman said in an interview with the Shelby Star.
Valerie Purdy, she asks, has anyone looked into Amazon with NEMF? I know they took some of their business from them. They did as well with XPO. It was about 5% of their business. Their stock went about 50%. We've talked about it at length on a number of things. I don't know if we'll necessarily have time to get into that today. Maybe when David Falkenberry stays in here to do market expert trivia, we'll get back to that one, Valerie.
Interesting question.
Stay tuned. All right. Now this is kind of a sad thing. So American Shippers founder David A. Howard has passed away. David A. Howard, who founded American Shipper and introduced the shipper's world to the emerging container carrier industry during the early 1970s, died on December 15th at his home in Jacksonville, Florida. He lived a long and vivid 99 years,
Chad.
Chad.
Centenarian.
With the introduction of containerization and the expansion of competition for U.S. manufacturers, especially from Germany and Japan, during the early 1970s, both carriers and shippers encouraged Howard to start a national publication to help them understand the growing complexity of serving international markets with containers.
In May 1974, Howard and his son, Hayes H. Howard, expanded the then 15-year-old Florida Journal of Commerce nationally and renamed it American Shipper. American Shipper quickly established a strong international following for its coverage of regulatory issues in North America and Europe, as well as the changing relationship between global shippers and their service providers. Hayes Howard said his father always held himself and his writers to the highest journalistic standards. He was a tough editor and always credited his strong team of writers over the years for the success of the publication, his son said.
Joseph Bonney, a former managing editor of American Shipper, who we'll be speaking to next, said that Howard was among the first to recognize the changes in regulation and technology were changing the way shippers operated, and the transportation was only one link in a company's supply chain. He was covering logistics in detail when other publications, and even many in the industry, were still learning how to spell it. American Shipper has reported on it all, good and bad, from the West Coast port crisis to the Hanjin bankruptcy to the sinking of the El Faro and all points in between. Let's bring Joe Bonney on the line for 5 good minutes. Let's see. Hold on. Talk for me.
Joe Bonney was the, why are we talking to him? He was the managing editor of American Shipper during the 90s, from 1990 to 1999. And he has quite the resume himself. He has won the Malcolm McLean Lifetime Achievement Award, which is a high honor. It's it's a lifetime award in journalism. So he's done that. Also, he is author of.
Hi, Joe. Are you there?
Yes.
Hey, nice. Joe, perfect. Author of The Box That Changed the World, among other things. It's great to have you on. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we are here in honor and memoriam of David A. Howard, of course. I guess let's just get right to it. Joe, how should we remember David A. Howard?
Dave Howard really was a remarkable man and a great editor. He had an immense impact on maritime journalism and on the industry that he covered. He launched American Shipper because he recognized that the industry needed an independent voice of accurate news and a forum for vigorous discussion of industry issues, and he filled that need in a way I don't think anyone else could have done.
You said he was the first to recognize the changes in regulation and technology that were changing the way shippers operated, and he was doing this before people even knew how to spell logistics. Tell us a little bit about how much of a forward thinker he was.
Well, when he started the first Jacksonville Seafarer, which was a local port publication, and then later on he, in the early 70s, he launched American Shipper. It was a totally different transportation world than it is now. It was highly regulated, and people really didn't think in terms of an entire supply chain, largely because the technology really didn't allow it, and the regulations did not allow it. He saw that that world was changing, and that for the first time, shippers were thinking more in terms of total supply chains than just transportation. And he was really out front in recognizing that and covering it.
Well, you joined in as the managing editor of American Shipper. Basically, you covered
for a whole decade, right?
Yeah, you covered the 90s, which must have been a fascinating time. How by that time, how hands-on was he when you were working with David Howard? Did he work alongside you, or was he kind of hands-off by then?
Very hands-on. He lived and breathed the magazine, thought about it constantly, and he could be a difficult guy to work for. He worked hard and expected his staff to work equally hard. He was very smart, disciplined, hardworking. He'd drive his staff crazy sometimes with some of his ideas. He had about 10 new ones every day. And
what was one of his craziest ones that you can remember?
Oh, I don't know. Just nothing stands out. But, most of them were okay. Maybe one or two of them were, not workable. But two or three of them, of those 10 ideas, typically were brilliant. And the point is, he was not afraid to experiment.
Yeah, and it sounds like he was passionate.
Things, and he was very passionate about it. The magazine was his baby. He'd launched it, built it up, and made it into something that he rightfully deserved to be proud of.
Trade has become somewhat of a political weapon through Donald Trump. You covered the 90s, which was it was both a Republican and a Democratic presidency, where we had W number one, and then we had Bill Clinton. Do you recall trade and politics merging as much as they have now?
Probably not now, not as much as now with the trade war, but there are always issues of politics that affected trade and transportation. In the 90s, the industry was still adjusting to surface deregulation with truck, rail, and air, and also on the ocean side, the 1984 Shipping Act, which allowed confidential contracting between shippers and carriers, and really. We poured tons of ink into writing about that. So there was always the issues of regulation, and which is politically driven, and but we didn't have the trade wars to the extent that we have now.
Yeah, we have seen.
Although there was NAFTA back then, so I guess that was but that was very positive development there.
Right. You have also yourself followed many of the changes over the decades. Can you think of just a memory of you have of Howard, something that stands out to leave us with?
He was he used to say that his favorite subject in college was symbolic logic. And
man for your heart, Chad.
He was really extremely well-read, highly intelligent man, and he tried to apply, especially with his editorials, which are must-read in industry every month, tried to apply logic to an industry that often is illogical. And not everyone was happy with that, because he was not afraid to take controversial stands. But even those who disagreed with him respected him, for the thought that he put into his writing, and just for his sense of fair play. A memorable character who really had an impact.
Sorry for your loss, Joe, and thank you for your service with American Shipper, and thank you for sharing those experiences with us today. We really appreciated it.
Thanks,
a great
Joe.
afternoon. Yeah, thank you. All right, now it's time for one of our favorite segments. Maybe not because of the content, but because of the bumper. Here he comes. It is our man on the scene.
Most certainly is the content.
Later today, before we get to Strickland Business, in a few short hours here, you got to do a webinar, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 p.m.
2 p.m.
What do people do? How do they register?
Me and Anthony Smith, we do it every month.
The A-Train of Ecom?
Yeah.
Ecom?
He's my partner in crime there. We cover everything from A to Z
Oh,
You get it.
You don't get sued by Amazon.
Yeah, that's his pun, not mine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You can get online and register for it. It's offered on FreightWaves.com. So you can get through there and register for any of our webinars. But yeah, we do a monthly market update. We cover everything economically, freight market update, anything that's topical for that month.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty detailed.
Well,
I love a good webinar.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Oh, here we go.
That's what I
Strictly business. You are listening to Strictly Business.
All right,
And,
Strick.
you
Were
know-
you a DJ in your previous life? Did you
I was.
DJ? 'Cause
I worked in the music industry.
that's awesome.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. I make all these bumpers. They're fun.
Yeah.
Fun. Every time I have a new segment, I'm like, I look forward to it because I'm like, I can make a new song.
Zach, we love your chart of the weeks. It's a very popular article. You talk about you analyze real time data, and in this case, you took the Celadon shutdown, the largest truckload failure in history.
Yeah.
And you talk about 2 tough years of freight conditions that led to the demise of Celadon every bit as much as the accounting fraud itself. Can you detail that a little bit for us? Because you put it in layman's terms.
Yeah. So, I mean, the fraud's going to get the big blame.
Yeah.
But, what the conditions that led to the fraud itself were really what spurred this on. And it really boils down to freight market volatility. So
Yeah.
truckload carriers, any LTL carriers, all carriers need stability to operate effectively. That keeps their costs down, any kind of predictability they can have. So when they're covering freight from Laredo to Detroit 5 times a week, knowing that freight's going to be there is important. So what if now it's only 3 times a week all of a sudden? And that's effectively what happens is they lose these outbound points or the inconsistent volumes, and then it pushes them to, fill those gaps. And in 2015, we went from a pretty strong market to 2016, which was a very weak market. We experienced it ourselves, back in my day. It's all of a sudden just like, well, where'd the freight go? And you're looking around staring at each other, just going like, I don't know. Sales, go sell something.
Yeah.
And then they try to go and sell something and they can't sell anything. And when they ask their shippers, their accounts, what's going on? They're like, well, your service stinks and your prices are too high. We're not shipping as much.
Why are used truck prices so important, though? Is it because fleets have to sell their own trucks off, or is it the valuation of it where they're able to get credit? Like, because what was going on with the fraud? They were making up the prices of these used trucks, right?
So there
And
was
they
one
picked a bad model, too.
Yeah. There was one model in particular. So I didn't know a lot about engine types, when I was in the space, like until I got to be a financial analyst and learn a little bit more about what we needed to price things at. But there's a specific model of the engine type, and it's the international truck, but the Max Force engine, 2012, 2013.
Yeah.
All sorts of problems. We had
What's wrong with Max? Max is just a bad suffix to put on things, or
it's marketing.
Yeah, with the
really,
Boeing thing, too.
Boeing,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
The
737
the
Max.
737
This one Max. No more Max.
Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this engine is hot garbage. I mean, it breaks.
Yeah.
Tons of maintenance issues. We still had we had several of these left over, like 7-8 years down the road, or 6 years later, I should say, that we could not get rid of. We literally couldn't sell for scrap. And this is the model that they said was more, is $10,000 more a unit than what the book value was for used trucks during that time. Not just so on top of the fact that the used pricing market was on decline.
It happened to also be
one of the worst trucks that you could say. So auditors are going to find this and they're going to say, what?
Yeah.
Even if they don't know anything about it, there's going to be a huge disparity in what their market research is going to tell.
It's like at the club, if you tell the girl, like, oh, yeah, my Corolla was like 80,000.
Yeah,
Nice
that's
luxury
effectively
car.
it. That's it.
What?
She's
Yeah.
like, I might need to audit that number.
I might need to audit
Not
that.
just that, but it's like what's a model that has notorious, like a lemon, Like it'd be like a lemon price.
Like the Pinto, right?
Yeah,
like
Pinto
the Ford
or something.
Pinto.
Yeah, it's
Or-
worth like $40,000.
The Pinto, it would explode on impact.
Yeah,
It's very
that's probably
good for
very
film.
dated. They were probably showing her age. Just like,
The
huh?
Yugo, I remember that.
Yugo.
Remember
Yeah.
the Yugo?
Really showing her age.
So it's interesting, and I think it is a little bit of a counterintuitive point that like the reason that the freight recession of 2016 wasn't as rough necessarily for carriers is because 2015 wasn't as good of a year as comparatively 2018 was to 2019.
Yeah, that's actually a big point is, it's not necessarily about lower volumes. What does lower volumes mean? What does lower prices mean? It's the fact that they came from, 2015 to 2016 was a pretty pretty deep fall. It's basically like falling off a 20, 30 foot cliff. You survive, but you're banged up a little bit.
Cat good.
2018 to 2019.
Some people die falling off 20, 30 foot cliffs.
Yeah,
That's
you-
pretty high up.
Pretty high up, dude.
That's pretty damn high.
Maybe it's a 10-foot cliff.
All
Maybe.
right.
I was exaggerating for effect a little bit.
Okay.
But the next one is like, falling off.
You ever see that movie 127 Hours where he
Yeah.
saw his arm
Yeah.
off? It was rough.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you like those type of things?
No, I don't.
I Shouldn't Be
watched
Alive,
that.
those kind of shows?
Like I'll watch them once.
Yeah.
I don't rewatch them.
We should make one for freight, like an I Shouldn't Be Alive, like companies that just should not be around anymore, but they kind of are. Or like they survived something they just shouldn't have.
Yeah. Well,
Who would that be?
Well,
let's not go there.
Let's not go there.
Let's
go
not
there. There's some expiry dates on
Pointed.
2020 is
Cut
not
off
going to be
limbs.
kind to a few carriers, a few 3PLs at least.
right. Probably not such as things.
Well,
look
yeah,
right
and,
now.
and we're coming up on a period of time that's traditionally dead for the freight market. So anybody that hasn't stocked their nuts away for the winter, literally, they're going to be in trouble coming up.
Yep,
But
you got to prepare.
Well, 3PLs too. A lot of them haven't. The ones that haven't built, the ones that are very old fashioned, that are like it's built on relationships and steak dinners, like that kind of guy who hasn't invested anything in the tech stack. All of a sudden, they're going to wake up to 2020, where I was just talking to the guy from Kingsgate Logistics for FreightWaves Insiders, which will be out tomorrow. And we were talking about that and building up technology and how you kind of have to do it incrementally because you can't bring everything on at once. But if you do, suddenly wake up. And he's talking about how a lot of this tech now is just bullet points in an RFP. Like it's expected to be there.
Yeah.
But now if you don't have that, now you got to make these in big $1 million, multi-million-dollar investments. That's when companies start merging, acquiring, and
Exactly.
And it's
selling
still
off.
about relationships. It's always about
Of course.
relationships.
How is
It goes without
communication
saying.
in tech not about a
Right.
relationship?
No,
It's,
but the
it's
tech
redundant.
the tech really makes it more efficient.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole point is to make it streamlined so your ORs go down.
Consistency.
Yeah.
It's better to do the marathon than CrossFit. That's the
Operating
takeaway.
ratio.
Yes.
Okay, so they're
All right.
not truckload, not into the CrossFit. Okay, everybody.
All right, Zach, thanks for joining us. So that webinar, 2 p.m., go check it out. Those guys will
Yes.
tell you all about what happened in the market over the past month.
Yeah, we're having a big peak too. So
And then tomorrow, 2 p.m., same bat channel, not same bat time because it'll be 2 p.m. and it's not. But it's 2 p.m. Eastern time, same time zone,
yep.
same channel. Check it out, Freightonomics. Really good with
Freightonomics.
Anthony Smith, the 8 train of econ. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Zach.
Thanks, guys.
Great to have you on
Oh,
again.
Joe still said Feliz Night. You want to give him a little cowbell for Christmas? Oh, I thought you were going to go jingle bells. Like,
yeah. I
And that can also be the call for market expert David Falkenberry. Come on down. It's time to try to pass my quiz.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Thanks for joining us. We were talking about, so a lady on here, she said, has Amazon, because one of the stories we were talking about in our headlines, and you're the final mile guy, right?
Yeah, that's right.
This is David Falkenberry, one of our market experts, does final mile. We were talking about how Amazon has gone to third-party sellers and said, hey, you can't use FedEx, FedEx, FedEx Express, FedEx Ground Delivery.
Right.
Which one do they cut off? It's Express?
It's both.
It's their ground.
It's
Yeah.
just-
Okay. So at what point does the government or somebody step in and say, like Amazon, you're getting a little too big for your britches, or does that just not happen?
I don't think that happens. I think they
Not anytime soon.
well, not here. Maybe hopefully. I think they were they're building out their own logistics network. They said they reported they had problems with service, that it wasn't on time. That's really important to Amazon. I mean, their number one principle is customer first. So
I love them as a customer, and I imagine if I was on the 3PL side, I would absolutely not only hate them but fear them a little bit.
yeah, they're pretty
Scary.
ominous,
Yeah.
pretty ominous.
Definitely love them as a
Those
consumer.
new trucks
though.
are nice looking too. I like how they just tweet out. They're like, "Look at our pretty trucks," and it's like,
Done,
if you're at
done.
XBO
And
or
they're-
Final Mile, you're like, they're delivering furniture now?
And
They're stepping on our toes, man.
And they're black, like it's like they're with the evil empire.
All right, guys. Do you guys want to?
Hello, would you like to play a game?
Yes,
Of course we would.
We are going to play a
Market
game.
expert trivia. Market expert trivia. Woo! Market expert trivia. Woo! Now we have another game. What is this one called?
Oh.
Market experts to play. Market expert trivia. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hell
That's
yeah,
gonna be
dude.
so
All right.
fun.
That's your buzzer. It sounds like that. That's my buzzer. It sounds like this. We got to wait till he finishes the question with all the answers. Then you can buzz in and keep your palm on the table.
Oh.
And the reason that we are having Market Expert Final Mile trivia for this trivia challenge is because Off the Supply Chain, coming out this Friday at noon, features a last mile segment, and Fucking Barry is on that, one of our competitive Off the Supply Chain panelists. Great to have you on.
I bet
here.
you won.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Hey, wait,
spoiler! He's already giving it away.
Hey,
Oh, man, you can't give that away.
No, nobody, you didn't hear that. Okay. Teaser, I guess.
Gee,
all right.
right.
Well,
It's one of the other two then. Who won?
Can't give it up.
Here's we have a 5-question multiple
We have a lot of
choice.
experts.
Number 1.
Okay.
The biggest e-commerce store is Amazon. Who is second biggest?
Okay.
A, Walmart. B, Home Depot. C, eBay. D, Apple. Yes.
It is the Home Depot.
Sorry. No.
I thought it was like a trick question.
Well, I would think Walmart.
Oh, man.
eBay.
Yes.
Yeah, I just thought that was too obvious. I thought it was too obvious.
Nope, it was eBay indeed. So point to Dooner.
No, Walmart's app. I always complain about it. Walmart's app kind of stinks. Like, I go on all the time to see if the store right down the street,
I still don't get it.
going by you, has the inventory.
How do they not
And it'll
have
say
the
unknown.
best developers, known to mankind?
I know they have more money than
Anyway,
a lot of people.
This one, I would
me,
be
of course.
surprised. Audience, do you know the answer to this one? Which states shoppers spend the most time online? Is it A, California,
Yeah.
B,
Nope.
Colorado, C, Nebraska, or D, North Dakota?
Yes, people
Dooner?
from Nebraska. They just have a lot of time. They have a lot of time on their hands.
Okay, second opportunity.
I would guess the more remote, like North Dakota.
Well, even though you were guessing, that is correct. David Falkenberry tying it up 1-1.
Who was it? North Dakota?
North Dakota, 19%.
What else are you going to do?
I know, right?
Shop online.
That's why I threw in some Nebraska there too. What
All
else
right.
are you going to do there? Apparently, people live they have the longest lifespans in Nebraska. Did you know
Longest night in Nebraska.
that? In Nebraska?
Healthy living.
Makes sense.
I don't understand it because it's cold there.
Less things to kill you, right?
Maybe
So maybe the wilderness.
Maybe it's like addition by subtraction. Okay, third question. Audience, do you know this one? Amazon was founded in 1995. We all know that. What was the first year it turned a profit? A, 1999, B, 2003, C, 2005, D, 2010. Yes?
2010.
Incorrect. Sorry.
It's almost like I'm just
Yes.
guessing.
2003.
2003, taking the lead.
Well, there's always this sort of like this sort of lie that's permeated online where Amazon's never turned a profit. You know, people always say that and they try to point to it. Why is that wrong and why is that dead wrong?
It's dead wrong. It's seriously wrong.
Okay. Just really freaking wrong.
There's a lot of different ways to do math, as we have covered with some
Or
of
like
our
film
bankruptcy
accounting?
coverage.
Yes.
Okay, question number 4, audience. Do you know this one? What is the percentage of consumers willing to pay more for same-day delivery? Is it A, 3%, B, 13%, C, 23%, or D, 33%? I think David just got it.
23.
23% is correct. Oh, a commanding lead.
Wow, we'll just have to play
Playing
this one
for
for fun.
pride
We'll play
now.
for pride.
Playing
Play
for
for
pride.
pride.
All right, everybody. Do you know this one? Final question.
All right.
Dooner, come on, man.
All right.
Rally, dude.
I'm coming.
Amazon is prepared to spend how much money for this year's push to do same-day delivery for Prime members?
Okay.
Is it A,
I know.
300 million, B, 800 million,
Nope.
C, 1 billion, or D, 1.5 billion?
It's 1.5 billion.
That is incorrect. Wow, you were just... I am so sorry.
I wasn't able to
What a-
study that. Too many meetings.
Actually, I have no idea what it is.
Well,
But
you
I'll go-
better guess.
300 million.
All right.
Yes, let's hear it. No. Yes.
C.
See.
1 billion.
No.
Okay, B.
That's correct.
All right.
800
That was
million.
a sudden death. No, you won. You're the winner. You get to hit the cowbell for winning.
3-1 to 0. Wow,
right.
enthusiastic right
Yes.
there. Well, fantastic. Great to have you on. And even though apparently you didn't win on OTSC, you did right here. And I tell you what, he's competitive.
Yeah.
He is not easy to beat.
No.
Got a big winning record.
Does.
Yeah.
Except on OTSC.
So,
Yeah.
So very nice job. Great to have you on.
Thanks for joining us, David.
Thanks
for having me.
Final mile. Wait, one quick question.
Yeah.
What's the difference between final mile and last mile? Is it just terminology?
I think it's terminology.
Yeah.
Originally, I think some of the folks that did dedicated delivery called it final mile, and others called it last mile.
Because some really don't like the term final mile. They say it's last.
Yeah, it's people are kind of get used to something and they want to stick with it. But
it's going to go other miles.
Technically, it's just the last leg of transportation.
Okay.
It could apply to many.
Fair
miles.
enough. Synonymous. Synonymous, you're saying.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, thank you, sir.
Well, no one else is like you. No one else is synonymous with you, David Foggenberry. Great to have you on
Except
here.
for Emily Zink.
Big deal.
Yeah,
Come on in.
She is a big deal, and she's going to play. We like to play games. Here, we'll do this again. Let's play another game.
Hello. Would you like to play a game?
Yikes.
Big deal.
Big deal. Come on in. How you doing?
Good.
Good. Put on the cans.
What's your favorite Christmas song?
Oh, All I Want for Christmas Is You. Is that what Houston?
Not My Two Front Teeth? Okay.
Oh.
No. I don't.
What's yours, Chad?
My favorite Christmas song.
Yeah.
That's tough. I think my daughter asked me this from time to time, and I'd say I could try to put together a top 10.
Oh.
But, Silent Night's awfully special.
It's a good
You know
one.
what I mean? Silent Night. You can't. How could you? I mean, that has to go in your top 10.
I guess so.
Yeah. What about you?
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
Oh, I like that.
That's a good one.
There's a lot of good ones. I used to love caroling when I was little. I can't sing.
Did
but
you
it was
really?
Fun. Yeah.
Well, let's all carol.
No, let's not.
Oh,
We
I
might
love
lose.
it's-
We have some good engagement today. I don't want
Okay.
to lose any of
All
our
right.
followers.
It's the Bing Crosby. It's the Andy Williams. I love the nostalgia. Some
Yes.
of those World War II eras. Yeah, those are all great.
All right.
But
you guys ready to
ready.
play a game?
Let's do it.
he may be
Let's
bringing
do it.
some heat. here
Who's
'cause
going
he's mad.
first?
I am.
You're mad? What are you mad about? I
But
saw you real worked up banging that cowbell in here.
I just I just lost to David Falcon. We have too many meetings. I didn't have time to study for my final mile test, and I take great pride in winning.
But David knows a lot about
True.
Final Mile. So if you're
Yeah,
going to lose
true.
to somebody,
So does Dooner.
True.
So does Dooner.
I know.
I guess so.
I know. Okay, who's going first?
I am.
Go ahead. Take
All
it
right,
away.
I'll take it.
Okay. Big deal or little deal, Dooner?
Mm-hmm.
Travis Kalanick, Uber's ousted co-founder, plans to sell 29% of his stake in the ride-sharing behemoth. He unloaded $350 million more of his shares since November 6th when he was first able to start trading. Is this a big deal or a little deal?
That's a pretty big deal. I mean, because that tempers market expectations, and other people holding it are like, well, if he's getting out, what does he know that I don't know? And that stock had it's been a bit of a dog. It didn't go up like people thought it would, and if you're holding it, you've lost money. I got rid of it before I did.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's a pretty big deal.
Big deal?
I think it's kind of a little deal. Big amount of money, but little deal. The stock has fallen 33% since May for starters, and they're questioning I think investors their path to profitability right now as they're dealing with regulatory challenges and controversies about driver safety and the rights of drivers. So headwinds, still relatively little deal.
Okay, we started with a
Okay.
disagreement. Let's see how we
Yeah.
continue. Well, according to a new report out by Bloomberg, a third of America's economy is concentrated in just 31 counties of our
Yeah.
entire country.
Yeah.
That is crazy. But do you think it's a big deal or a little deal?
Well, I had to think about this one, but I'm going to say little deal. Because it's a large population and workforce can be attributed to a lot of this. If you're thinking about the counties, they're in New York, they're in L.A., they are in Houston, the fourth largest city, the third largest city, Chicago, Seattle. All of these places. It's in some industries they can afford to be consolidated, and some they can't. Like logistics, they have to be diversified. But little deal.
Why is everything such a little deal to you?
It's just two things.
All right.
All
Cassandra
right.
Gaines, by the way, she said Mr. Grinch is awesome, and I agree with you, Cassandra.
Yeah, nice, Cassandra.
Really?
Oh, thanks for watching.
Well, she's
Cassandra.
probably like, he's really effing awesome.
Yeah,
Yes.
she probably
But I had to
put a
censor myself
swear
because I'm
word
next
there.
to Emily's thing.
Yeah,
All
I'll bleep you.
right, that's like 1%, right? So we always hear about the 1% of the money in the country, the 1%. Occupy Wall
Yeah.
Street used to be a big thing. This is 1% of the counties in America. I don't know. A coincidence? I think not. Big deal. The erosion of the middle class,
Nice.
right?
That's
I mean,
what I like
eventually,
to-
if people can't buy, TVs, they can't go to Walmart, they can't buy these fast. All these things we talk about in the economy. If the middle class loses too much money, then we stop becoming a buyer's economy. Then that's when that divide stops happening. Recessions start happening. People start hoarding money. Cats start kissing dogs.
Whew, we don't want
And
that.
that is a big deal, right?
Yes, it is.
I actually don't know if it's a big deal or a little deal. I had to go against you.
Good.
All right.
He's in the middle. I know you don't like that on Off the Supply Chain. People lose
That's
a point
right.
for that. So
Yeah.
you
Ding,
lose a
ding,
point.
No.
Well, it's been a rough year for the air cargo industry overall, and prospects for a rebound in 2020 are murky because of things like the tariff situation looming as a wild card for the industry. Is this a big deal or a little deal?
Well, okay, so that's actually a little deal because unlike ocean shipping, air freight happens quick, right? People want to use it because they want to get products there. So when something happens, like the tariffs are suspended, people can suddenly go, okay, I'm gonna ship my stuff again. So you can be a lot more reactive, and even if you're not being proactive, you can be reactive on air freight. Where on ocean, you just can't make those orders because a lot of orders were canceled from overseas because they know they're going to arrive 30, 45 days out. This stuff, it's going to be there the next day, 3 days away, whatever it is.
That's true.
So I think that air freight will probably see a little bit of recovery, especially after we go to that conference January 25th to the
AFA
27th
conference.
in Nashville.
Yeah, we will be there in Las
Well,
Vegas.
I think this is actually a big deal. It's been the worst year for air cargo since the Great Recession, with the contraction. They're estimating it hasn't quite happened, but of about 3.3%. And it may only come back about 2% over 2020, and the first quarter is looking like a lot of headwinds, mostly from the trade uncertainty. So I think it can be an early indicator, and I think it's kind of a big deal.
No, you're wrong. I mean, last week was a great week for trade deals.
I'm not wrong.
Okay.
It's just
All right.
his
Big deal.
opinion. We
All right.
can't
Yeah.
be right and wrong,
there's
guys.
gonna be there's
This
a
is
little
friendly competition.
bump. It's a bump of them.
All right.
But none of
Okay,
the big
moving
vision,
on.
baby.
You guys, we'll see if you both should agree on this one.
What?
The outrageous spending habits of a former Silicon Valley-based logistics software startup CEO have recently come to light. Turvo's CEO was fired back in May after the company learned he had expensed more than $75,000 entertaining clients at adult venues. Big deal or a little deal?
Well, I guess if he's all grown up, he can go to adult places.
$75,000 expense though at
Is
adult
it my
places?
turn to go first?
I guess, yeah.
I think it's okay. This one's I'm gonna say little deal, big expense again.
Yeah.
But I think that when industry leaders and startups behave badly, it reflects poorly on a lot of people. So for that reason, you could say, it's a big deal. But I do think at the same time now, and I don't know if it's just conspiracy theorists, but I've seen some stuff on social media that has been saying that a lot of startup CEOs and leaders are kind of being targeted. And you have to wonder, I think some of this stuff happened several months ago. And why is it just now coming to light now? Little deal.
So this story is an interesting one because they got a $60 million investment, right? So he's like, more money, more problems. He hires a CFO. He brings a guy in who's better at counting beans than the guy before him.
Yeah.
Too good at counting beans, though, because then he's like, what is $150,000 in expenses? And then this
I think it's half that, 75.
No.
Oh.
If you read the article, it's $150,000 in expenses.
Oh, but
all right?
yeah, 75.
75,000. He's like, what is half of them? And the guy's like, well, the CEO is like, well, only half of them are going to adult venues and
He
these strip
admitted
clubs.
it. Yeah, he didn't deny it.
Well, he's like, that's what I do. That's how we roll. That's how we take people.
We
That's the thing.
roll.
So I guess it's a big deal in the sense that it's not 1989. It's not the Motley Crue Girls video. It's a little bit different of a world.
Yeah.
So you can get into some trouble, and your name can get into some trouble by going to these things. And like you mentioned, people are more visible than ever, especially with social media. And it's probably not a good look to have your CFO like just up. I don't know. Maybe he went for the lunch buffet. I don't know if he's up all hours of the night. I have no idea. Like how you rack up 75,000. But again, if it was in Silicon Valley, things could be
prices are
expensive.
higher.
I don't know.
The comments on our article on that, some of them were like customers, and they were saying that the product doesn't even work very well.
Oh,
So they were like,
maybe you should focus on that instead.
Yes.
yeah.
I guess. I don't
So
know.
little deal.
All right.
Okay. Well, by 2022, supply chain and logistics tech spending could elevate to more than $87 billion. Billion with a B. Big deal or little deal, Dooner?
Big deal. Because we kind of talked about this with who were we talking about it to? David Falkenberry, maybe. No, Zach Strickland. I'm sorry. It was Zach Strickland.
Final Mile?
I was talking about to the guy from Kingsley Logistics before, and now these things, the supply chain technologies, the visibility, the TMSs, these are just bullet points in the RFP, so you have to have them. They're not even really enhancements for a lot of companies. They're expected by the bigger shippers that you would have these things. There's a lot of 3PLs who haven't made those investments, so they're not a part of this $87 billion of expenditures. And they're going to wake you up in 2020 after losing a bunch of RFPs, and they're finally going to go, oh, maybe it's not about steak dinners and going to the Jolly Roger and staying at Howard Johnson, right? It's a different world.
Right.
It's a different world.
It's always about relationships.
It's a different world. And now they're going to spend
Either you have technology or you don't.
Dollars on technology. I wasn't even done.
Well,
I wasn't even done.
I want to tell you that you are right on this one.
Okay.
Correct. Good job. Big deal.
I like the energy.
But for the same reason as air cargo's outlook, effectively, plus you throw in the volatility of, like an election year, maybe an increase in M&A activity due to smaller companies faltering, and, you have the makings here of a big deal. So,
what about MMA? Would it have been a big deal if you spent $75,000 taking people to UFC fights?
No, it would not have been a big deal. These are adult venues.
What's weird about these stories is though, what's the context for the money? Like how? I guess because it's half of their entertainment spending. I guess that tells you something.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
And one has to wonder, who were those customers? Who were, and why did you have to take them there in order to get them to buy your product?
Did they even buy the product?
Would you think it was weird? Like if we flew out as FreightWaves and they wanted to have they wanted to talk about data integration or something, and then they're like, okay, then meet us at meet us at the adult venue. It would be.
You kind of
would that be strange?
No, well,
maybe not.
If you don't go, you
but
lose
you lose
out.
a deal, right?
Yeah. But some people might be offended.
Yeah, some people may be offended, but a lot of people get offended about a lot of stuff.
That's true.
So.
All right.
Well, this is one I really
like.
Emily
would go. All right.
Yeah. All right. I didn't say no.
Okay.
Well, if you buy a ticket to FreightWaves Live Atlanta by tomorrow, January 18th, you'll receive a free Apple TV 4K. Big deal, little deal.
I think is this you?
Yes, of course it's a big deal. It's a very big deal. And so that's it. You got one day to register for FreightWaves Live. You're probably going already. Go ahead, hop in and get your added value of the Apple TV 4K.
Yeah.
Is it worth 4K?
No, it's worth about $150, but
still.
It's worth $1 million though. The experience of watching FreightWaves TV, because here's the thing. Here's how you scale, right? Talk about technology, talk about scaling rapidly. Because if you go, let's say you didn't go to FreightWaves Live Chicago, right? But you had an Apple TV. And you went and you said, hey, I had a great experience. And I saw Jordan Belfort up there. Yeah. And I watched all the What the Truck sessions. But then I missed all the demos and everything. Because you can't be everywhere at once, right?
There was a lot going on.
No, lies. You can be everywhere at once if you have FreightWaves TV and an Apple 4K. Because you can watch you can replay it all.
It makes you omniscient.
And it's up there now free. So let's say you go. $150 for this thing and the tickets, whatever. But then you hook it up to your TV in the middle of your office. You make the switch. Whatever you had it on before, MSNBC, CNN, whatever the heck you're watching, put it on put on FreightWaves TV.
Yes.
And then you can show everyone there so you can really scale this knowledge to your entire team. You can make learning classes out of it. You can rewatch every single What the Truck that we've ever recorded live. You can watch Great Quarter Guys. Those guys are a lot smarter than we are. You actually want to learn something, watch that show.
And I think that the Passport program is something that our viewers may want to check out as well. Continuing education opportunities, price points very similar to just what a ticket is. Lots of loaded added value there as well.
And the convenient thing is if you go to FreightWaves.com and Passport and FreightWaves TV are right next to each other
there
up
in
there.
the upper right-hand corner.
Easy to find.
And we have a ton of things. So every time we do one of these events, if you've been to one, you're like, wow, I went to the one in Atlanta last year. We are so far ahead of that. We just want to jump the bar over, and we take it as a personal challenge. Yeah. And we actually have we have a few training grounds beforehand. Our very next one to work out all the kinks at is that air cargo one, where we're going even bigger and better than what you even saw at FreightWaves Live Chicago. We plan to knock the socks off every one of those air freight homies out there.
I like how they are homies. But we got one more question. What the Truck, we are adding interactive voting and trivia to the segments. I loved the dog in the cab question the other day that we did. So it was mostly yes, which it should be for dogs in the cab. So we're adding interactive games. Is this a big deal or a little deal?
It's a big deal because it's fun. I mean, if you look, there's plenty of people watching, and you go through all our social things. There's plenty of people watching. So if they want to get involved, and I'm sure they play Market Expert Trivia, and they're just yelling like at their screen or getting spit on their iPad or their iPhone, like, oh my God, it was D. What are you doing? So if they have like the ability to vote, they can put their knowledge to the test. They can see if they. I mean, it wouldn't be hard to do better than me because I think I got like 0% right. I think I went 0 for 5.
Today, you had
I went 0 for 5. A very bad day. I've got 5 for 5.
I mean, you got a point, but it was on like the second time around on the multiple
No, it was
choice.
the third time. I don't think there was any left.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's process of elimination.
Of course, it's a big deal. It's a ginormous deal. It's maybe one of the biggest deals of all time. No, it's so fun. Like the
1% of the wealth in the country is concentrated in 31 counties, and this is a bigger deal to you.
Yeah,
tells me a lot about
right
your values and standards, Chad Prevost.
Well, you have no idea just how big of a deal this is.
Okay.
First of all, we just got ranked 52nd in all of Apple podcast in the segment of news.
Yeah.
We're like, that is gigantic.
huge.
It's a
Pretty
big.
I'm waiting until we get over 50. I don't celebrate 52. I celebrate
saying
top
that,
10.
like,
but
now-
that's due to them. That's
now
due to all
you're-
you guys out here. That's due to you
anyone-
guys.
That's right.
That's
Thanks
due
for
to you
tuning in.
people.
You're
That's
going to have
you
more
guys.
fun than ever tuning in to our podcast because you get to play games with us. So it won't just be between David Falkenberry and Tim Dooner next time. You'll be participating at the same time.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to like lead up to the show, and you can see if you were right or wrong. And also during the show, we'll even have some engagement things after. So it's all about engagement. Our gaming czar, our gaming guru, our engagement dude, Aaron Welch is proactively putting a lot of things together, and I'm just excited. I think it's going to add a whole new element to leveling this show that much further up. So, in the meantime, thanks for tuning in. It has been a great show.
Well, hold on a second. What? You don't get to rap. I control that closing button. I'm not even on that screen yet. All right. Hold on, Emily. What's cooking for content for FreightWaves TV?
David I was listening, let a little thing slip that he was not the winner of this week's episode. So somebody else other than him won. But this is
you'll have to forgive him.
him.
We should have a vote about that. Who do you think won?
Who do you think won? You only got 2 other choices.
Yeah.
But no, so Friday,
Well, no, put 3 up there, but the people who watch this will already have some inside
already know.
information. And then maybe they can win a What the Truck shirt.
Yes, I
Good
love
idea.
it.
How about that?
Yes, so noon. 12 o'clock on Friday, Eastern Standard Time. Great quarter, guys. They were on today. So if you missed it, get your Apple TV. Get FreightWaves TV on your app on anything, computer, tv.freightwaves.com, on your smartphone. Just sit at home, watch in the comfort of your own home while lounging on the couch so you could catch up on everything. Port Report, new episode coming out.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of stuff going on.
Thursday.
A lot of content.
That'll be at 3 p.m. on Thursday. Freightnomics tomorrow, 2 p.m. Today, 2 p.m. That webinar. You got to go register. That's not on FreightWaves TV. That's,
No, but it's a really good one.
Yeah.
There's already, I want to say, 800 people registered, so you do not want to miss out. Yeah.
Look, there'll be
Don't
800
sleep on the
people
webinar.
smarter than you if you don't go to this. So you want to do it.
Yep.
We talk about scaling knowledge. That's a great way to do it.
It is,
All
yes.
right. Also, if you want to follow this, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, everywhere podcasts are heard around the world. But if you want all of our shows, Freightcast, subscribe to that feed. All these things are free. I like to mix it up. I like to watch some of our shows, and I like to listen to some of them, just so I'm like constantly immersed in FreightWaves content.
It's good to know what's going on, and it's good content.
Yes.
You'll learn something new every time you watch.
All right. You can find her on Twitter at Emily Zink. That's SZINK. You can find him at Chad Prevost. You can find me at Timothy Dooner. That's DOONER. Let's get out of here. Roll the train out of the station. Little cowbell for Mr. Howard.
Yeah.
David A. Howard, Joe Bonnie shout out
Yes,
for
that's
a good memory of him.
Joe Bonnie's still alive.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, but I gave him a shout out.
Oh, okay.
For giving
Yes.
them, yeah.
All right. Shout out to all the listeners out there. Shout out to all the people listening. Got us up to do what? Number 52 on that.
We'll be 50.
New segment on their podcast. Yeah, after this episode, because it's one of the best ones.
Shout out to Fun and Games.
Boom! What else we got going on? A little shout out for Phil Stewart, who said I'm not animated enough with these things. Could that even be a little shout out for sarcasm? Well, cowbell.
Oh, I see.
Little sarcastic cowbell.
I was like, maybe opposite world for him.
Maybe.
Opposites day.
Like bad Superman. Evil Superman. All right, guys, take it easy.